Okay, so thank you for joining us for another health talk. We are from DRD Natural Health. And just to let you know, we do have a Facebook page. It's called DRD Natural Health. So if you're on Facebook, you can check us out there. We also just started our YouTube channel. So you can also search for DRD Natural Health on YouTube, where we upload all the videos. You can also contact us. I will put our phone number in the chat, and our email address is drdnaturalhealth at gmail.com. Okay. And once again, this health talk is being recorded. And just to remind you of our disclaimer, so the information that we're sharing with you is for educational purposes only, and it's not intended to diagnose, prescribe, treat, or cure any disease or replace any recommendation from your healthcare professional. So now that we've gotten all the admin stuff out of the way, what are we doing today?
Well, today we have a guest with us. Today we will be hearing from Janice, and we will hear Janice's story, and it is our hope that her story will help to inspire someone who is online today, and that they will benefit from Janice's story. So Janice, welcome. You can unmute your phone. Your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Good night, everybody.
Yes, good. And welcome to Health Talk.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, I know this is not your first time, but
yes.
For our viewers, we welcome you and thank you for agreeing to share your story with us this evening.
Yes, please.
It is an inspiring story. So tell us about Janice. Tell us about the old Janice, the one prior to summer 2019.
The old Janice was unhealthy, not happy with herself, feeling that something is wrong with her, and she just gave up.
Wow.
That's what.
And what caused that? What was it? Because I remember the first time I saw you, I know something was wrong. I couldn't figure it out, but I know something was wrong. So what exactly caused you to feel that way?
My size.
Your size.
Feeling guilty. What did I do to make myself? Why did I make myself come that far?
And when you say your size, you're referring to being overweight.
Yes.
Okay.
Very overweight.
So apart from being overweight, what other medical conditions did you have?
First, I was suffering with my heart. I had open heart surgery, but that's not the main issue. The main issue was with my overweight, I had overboard high blood pressure. I had borderline diabetes, and if I had let go, I would get it. I was in a mess. Actually, I was in a mess.
And how long have you been hypertensive? How long did you have hypertension?
Maybe 6 years again over. Okay. Yeah, around that time.
And were you on medication for your hypertension?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was. They had to, because with my heart, they had to because my breathing wasn't doing good, and everything else wasn't how it's supposed to be.
Right. So what I understood from our discussion is that the heart condition is something you were born with.
No, in fact, we were shocked because my mom realized it when I was a few months old, but the doctor still wasn't sure if I was born with it.
Okay.
Mm.
So what was your lifestyle like at that time? Were you active? How did you eat?
I was eating every junk food.
Mm.
I was eating everything that
Mhm.
I, as a Seventh Adventist, I could have eat.
Mhm.
I was eating it,
Wow.
and it drinking. I wasn't drinking together but eating, and I realized, and I wasn't drinking water, and I realized that's the most main thing.
Mhm.
And
Not drinking juice all the time.
how
Pop,
active
you
were you at
know.
that time?
Pardon?
How active were you at that time?
I wasn't.
Mhm.
I wasn't. Because when you overweight, you don't feel like you want to get up.
Yeah.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like you want to move. You
Mhm.
want to sit down, eat, lie down, sleep, and that was
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to let you know, Janice is a mother.
Mhm.
She has a daughter, Zanda, and at the time that she's referring to, you were living in the city, right? In Toronto.
Yes, I was.
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Okay. And now, what happened in 2019 that changed your life?
2019, my, I don't want to be emotional here.
Um,
My
take your
my
time.
brother, my brother, and his wife and my niece and nephew
Mm-hmm.
took me in. Oh boy,
That's okay.
That's okay.
they they changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way they welcome me in.
Mhm.
They they didn't make me feel like, hey, because you fat, we don't want you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I thought. I always feel I am overweight. Nobody will want me. Nobody will want to put the arms around me.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I felt, they made me feel different. I felt love
That's
in
really
a,
That's really
good.
good.
in a long time.
Hmm.
Mm.
So where does your brother live?
Live in Murmur. Am I right? Yeah, I think so.
Yes, in Marmara.
Yeah, in Murmur.
Before we move on, I just want to thank you for being so open and sharing that personal information with us because I can't imagine, what you were going through, with those thoughts and during that time. So thank you for sharing that.
You know what? I am blessed and I want somebody else to be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I know where I came from and the pit I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we women feel that way sometimes because we overweight. Nobody wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And they taught me how to love myself. They
Wow.
taught me I used to be in the kitchen asking Colin question. I'm older than her and I'm asking her how to cook the food she was cooking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what changed my life, the way of eating.
Mm-hmm.
I lose weight. I
Wow.
had energy. I could have climbed upstairs with them. Oh goodness.
Oh,
I could have walked
how did they eat?
vegetarian meal, but twice a day. You
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
know, but what was so how would I put it? Amazing that even the two times a day, that you eat enough, that you full up your body. Your body is satisfied, that you don't have to have snacks too much. You don't have to have chips, and you don't have to have soft drink, and you don't have. But sometimes, if in between, like you eat like I eat right now, I eat in the morning, and I have lunch, dinner at 2:30. And since I have a little girl, she's still eating, so I make sure I have fruits or I have some nuts there for her, you know, so she can eat before. I make sure that before 5, before she go to bed, the nuts, the fruit has to digest it. I was told 1.5 hour before bedtime. She have to eat the fruit. So that's what's going on right now, and that's why I'm looking so healthy.
That's
So,
good.
so do you mind sharing how your weight? Would you mind sharing with us your weight at that time and your weight now?
Oh, my weight, I was 300 pounds.
Wow.
Whew.
Wow.
I was weighing 300, and eating the right way. When I left by my brother, I was 173 pounds.
Wow.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. And Peterson used to say, "Hey, sis, I see me a small waist." And and within yourself, you realizing that God took me from where I was, and He put me at the right place to show me how I supposed to eat, because I have a little girl that He gave me responsibility for, to take care of and to stay alive for.
Yes.
And as a mom, it's my responsibility to take care of her and take care of myself.
Yeah.
And knowing her from this, but what was so strange, from baby, Zenda never ate meat. I would cook it and she would push it aside. She would eat everything else but never eat it. And I would force her to eat it. And she would say, "Mommy, I don't like it." And now she said, now she's rolling in my face. "You see, Mommy, if you had listened to me."
Wow.
So
So tell us, how do you feel today in comparison to how you
alive.
Wow.
I'm alive. I'm happy.
That's really
You know, I can laugh from my belly inside out, you know. I can, yet it's cold outside, but I still move around in the house.
That's good.
I make sure I open my window for some fresh air.
Yes.
You know, even though it's cold. You know, and you just, it's a difference.
So
losing the weight.
Are you still on medication for, for your blood pressure?
No, I'm not. They cut it off.
Wow.
Because I'm not on it anymore. And even on my blood thinner, they brought the amount I used to use down. Because I'm eating healthier. And the doctor, my cardiologist tell me, whatever I'm doing, continue doing it.
That's very good. Very good. So what advice would you give to someone who is struggling with a medical condition that's similar to yours?
Don't give up on life. Talk to somebody that you know is willing to listen. Someone that will tell you how to eat right. And the portion to eat, the portion you can eat, that will help you to have self-confidence, to help you. When you have self-confidence, you have everything, because then you want to do all the exercise you can do. You know, you can eat right. You just feel better when you eat better, and Oh, I don't know how to express it because but it's a joy. It's a joy when you know that you can, when you like this and you can talk to somebody and you know that they have you,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's
you know.
Wow.
very good. Any final word that you would want to leave with us?
Yes, don't give up on you, you know. Work hard,
Yes.
believe in yourself.
Hmm.
Oh boy, I can say it over and over, believe in yourself.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Stop thinking negative of who you think you are
Yeah.
and what you can achieve in life.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. This has been, such an eye opener for me. And I thank you again for being so open and so vulnerable with sharing your story.
Hmm.
And I hope that, Janice's story was able to help someone else on
Yeah.
this call.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
hope so.
Thank you
You
so
know.
much, Janice. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you for having me.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. All
Thank you.
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we've heard Janice's story, and I'm
Mhm.
sure that her story could very well be somebody else's
Yeah.
story as well.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing that really jumped out at me from what Janice said is that somebody was there to encourage her.
Yes.
And she talked about her brother and her niece and nephew and her brother's wife. But when I spoke to her before,
Mhm.
she told me that her nephew kept encouraging her and would say,
Wow.
"Oh, you're looking nice," and her brother was doing the same
Mhm.
thing as well,
Mhm.
encouraging her.
That's really
and
good.
um and then because too she was in the country, she could walk,
Mhm.
and get
Yeah.
get the exercise that she really needs.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe some persons might be thinking, oh, I'm overweight, but that's not a medical condition,
Mhm.
right? But we see that from the World Health Organization, they have, this is from 2009, and they've ranked overweight and obesity as the fifth leading risk for global deaths.
Wow. That's
And
pretty high.
yeah, and in addition to that, they have also stated that the issue has grown to an epidemic proportion, with
Mhm.
over 4 million persons dying each year as a
Mhm.
result of being overweight or
Wow.
obese. And this was from 2017.
Mhm.
So it really is something that is plaguing, the world.
Yeah. It's affecting a lot of people, and
Hmm.
sometimes people don't think of it seriously, especially if, they may have been that way for a
A
long
long
time.
time.
They've just become used to it,
Yeah.
but it's really, like you said, it's an epidemic,
Hmm.
and it can lead to other diseases,
Yes.
and all those comorbidities together can
Hmm.
increase your risk
Hmm.
of death, and that's not something that we want. So we want to share again this information with you so that you feel empowered and you have all the information you need to make the necessary changes. So as we're talking about, being overweight and being obese, we know that it can actually shorten your lifespan, like my mom just
Yeah.
said. And in the medical profession, they talk a lot about your BMI, right? So you want to be in a particular range. So they have a healthy range, if you are overweight and if you're obese. And of course, your risk for disease increases as your BMI increases.
And could you say BMI? But
Oh, your
yeah,
body
body
mass
mass.
index. So that's dependent on your height and your weight. And for a healthy weight, it's between 18.5 to 24.9. So if you don't know where you are, where you sit, I don't know the calculation, but they have um, BMI calculators online. And
Hmm.
so that's a good way to determine, what your BMI is. And that's also a good conversation to have with your doctor as well, if you fall within that overweight group or that obese group.
Okay, so for the calculation, for those who might not be able to go online, it's your weight
Mm-hmm.
times 703,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to divide that
703.
703,
Okay.
and you're going to divide that by your height in inches
Wow. That's a
times your,
lot.
yeah, it is a lot, but for me it's much easier if I'm talking to someone and they tell me I'm 5'4", okay, I could work mine. I'm 5'4" and I'm 118, so it's 118 multiplied by 703, and I'm going to divide that by my height in inches, which is 64 times 64. It
Math.
is,
It's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
math.
But it's good to know, because at least you don't want to be underweight, or you don't want to
Mhm.
be overweight.
Overweight.
You want
Yeah.
to be in the normal range.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some symptoms of obesity?
Well, as we've heard, Janice mentioned she could climb stairs after,
Mm-hmm.
after losing the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the symptoms, is that normally persons are they're struggling to do activities. So climbing a stair, they would be breathless, and
Mm-hmm.
another one is snoring.
Yeah.
A lot of people will, well, a lot of times we hear about sleep apnea.
Yeah.
And usually when I hear sleep apnea, it doesn't have to be, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the first thing that comes to mind is
Obesity.
overweight. The
Yeah.
person is overweight. And
Mm-hmm.
usually, if they should lose some of that weight, then their condition would be better.
Yeah.
Snoring, persons who are overweight, they usually snore. It's not only overweight persons who snore, mind you,
Yeah.
but that's one of them. And increased sweating, not to mention the joint pains,
Mm-hmm.
because of the
Weight.
weight
Yeah.
that's on the
Mm-hmm.
knees and the back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and our upper area is, there's more weight here than
Yeah.
below, so obviously. And they're feeling tired as well.
Mm-hmm.
They get tired easily, so they take lots of rest in
Mm-hmm.
between their work.
Yeah, and like Janice mentioned earlier, because they're overweight, they don't have the energy to move.
Mhm.
And we know that movement is so vital for life,
Yes,
right?
and because too, as she mentioned, it's like your self-esteem is
Mm-hmm.
low. You're not
Yeah.
thinking that you're, for some people that's all they think about, so
Mm-hmm.
they don't bother to even try
To
to
make
exercise.
changes.
Yeah.
And what I will say is, that self-esteem portion, we're not really covering in our topic today,
Mm-mm.
but it is very
Important.
essential to, consider those feelings. And like Janice said, find someone to talk to, find someone that can support you with those feelings, with those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some things that can contribute to obesity then?
um I'm gonna go back to what Janice, at
Mm-hmm.
least some of what she mentioned. Um, and she mentioned eating, right? The
Yeah.
way she ate,
Mm-hmm.
she had a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
She did a lot of snacking,
Mm-hmm.
and those are really, really not good. Um, some people, when they get pregnant, then they put on weight during
Yeah.
that time, and that weight stays with them.
Mm.
They don't lose it after they have the baby. Inactivity,
Yeah.
persons are maybe sitting at a desk all day and they're inactive. Lack of sleep, that is
Mm-hmm.
that is like persons who work night shifts.
Yes.
They are, most times they will see the change over a couple of years. Like they can look back and say, okay, I started night shift at this time, and within this time I gained so
weight.
much weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that is even outside of what they're eating, because their body is just not getting the rest
Yeah.
and the repair that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, I think some things that I remember you read in this book some time ago, wheat belly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people have a big tummy, it's not necessarily because of food, but it's because of wheat. You know, they're allergic to wheat, and gluten as well. There
But
is.
not just the allergy, because when we take in excess sugar, so excess
Mhm.
wheat, excess
Okay.
bread,
Yeah.
excess carbs, it gets stored as fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you've been saying, like Janice said, we need to watch what we eat. Yeah.
There are some persons with hormonal issues as well, and insulin resistant. You know,
Mm-hmm.
those persons can be obese as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
And go ahead.
genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see someone who the parents are obese, and it's like almost, you know, the norm that the child is going to be obese as well. Not necessarily, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
that can cause it as well.
I would say maybe more hereditary, because it's those hereditary things that are passed down through the
Mhm.
generation. So the lifestyle mainly. And there's also stress too, right?
That's a big
Especially,
one.
yeah, when you're stressed, you don't have time to
Mhm.
prepare meals. You don't have time to, go out and buy healthy food. You don't have time to like sit and eat, or you just go out and buy the most convenient thing that's around you, which most times isn't the healthiest thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some things that we can do to help people lose weight,
Okay.
right? Because we want to give people, practical things, things that are available, things
Mhm.
that are affordable, and you can do it anywhere in the world,
Anytime.
right?
Yes.
So one of the first things is water. So simple, but so essential,
Mhm.
right? Water actually increases your metabolism. And so if you want to lose weight, it's good if your metabolism goes up, you
Yes.
do more work, burn more energy, you burn more fat, right? So
Exactly.
water is a good way. And we talked about water, I think, in our second video,
Yeah.
that
think
we
so.
posted on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we talked about how to drink water, when to drink water.
Mhm.
And so if you haven't seen that video, or if you missed that health talk, you can go to our YouTube channel, DRD Natural Health, and you can watch that video. It's called I Can't Live Without
Can't live
You,
without you.
and it's food. So we talked about it when we were talking about food. So water, we all have water available to us, right? And I know sometimes people are like, oh, I don't like the taste of water. I mean, water is
Yeah, it's no
so
taste to some people.
it's so essential,
Yes.
right? It's like simple medicine
I
right
was
there.
working with this lady the other day, and she said, I can't drink the water if it's not coming from the refrigerator.
Oh,
So, you know, that's
it's
not
better.
good, but it's better
It's better than no
nothing.
water. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But like Janice said, she didn't drink
Any water at all.
She had juice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what else can we do to encourage people to lose weight?
We can encourage, you know, a lot of times people go on, they want to lose weight, so they're dieting, right? And they're going on this diet or that diet. But one of the ways that people can lose weight is to have a healthy meal.
Yeah.
The very first meal in the morning, a healthy breakfast.
Yeah.
And that will help them because they're not grabbing at any little thing they see, you know, they're not snacking then, because as Janice mentioned, based on how her brother's wife cooked,
Yeah.
then she was, when she had her meal, she felt that she was satisfied and did not have a need for more food. So
what does that look like?
that to me looks like earlier today we were talking about something different, but we mentioned someone who likes waffles, for example. And I'm not necessarily referring to the waffles that you buy in the store. I'm referring to the homemade ones where you can, you know, you can ensure that it has more fiber in it. And you could have waffles with lentils
Mm-hmm.
on that. And of course, you would also have your fruits,
Yeah.
and then you would have your nuts at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a high fiber breakfast, and you're getting enough that you eat until you're satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
right? Another thing that you could have for breakfast is quinoa. You could have quinoa and beans. In our family, we're kind of different, because sometimes we have dinner for the food that people would normally have for dinner
Yeah.
for breakfast, but that's just trying to ensure that we're having our heaviest meal in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, and then you can have your lighter meal. So anything that you have for dinner, you can have it for breakfast,
Yeah.
because that's when your body needs the food. That's when it's gonna hold you for a longer
Yeah.
time, 5 to 6 hours before your next meal, and then you will be satisfied.
So my mom talked about fiber, right? Because we know fiber increases satiety, it holds us for a longer period of time, but protein is also important, and protein also increases satiety, and it makes you full longer and you eat less, right? And so if you're fuller quicker, then you'll definitely eat less food. You won't put on any extra weight. So
and the plant-based protein has lots of fiber in it as well.
Yes. And in that same video, the second video that we posted, we do talk about different sources of protein as well. Another thing is fasting. And Janice mentioned that when she was at her brother's house, they ate 2 meals for the day.
Right.
And like my mom mentioned, when you're eating a balanced meal, so you have a balanced breakfast, you eat 5 to 6 hours, you have a balanced lunch or dinner, whatever you want to call it, then you are full until you go to bed, right? So if you're only eating 2 meals, then your body gets to rest for, let's say, 12 to 16 hours, depending on, if you choose to have 2 meals for the day or 3 meals for that day. And so when you're fasting, then you eat less, then you won't put on
weight.
Exactly. You won't put on any extra weight. So what else can we do?
I think a lot of us have a sweet tooth.
Ooh.
And maybe you have more of a sweet tooth than me, so you might want to talk about your sweet.
I mean, refined sugars, all the carbs, all the white foods, they don't have as much fiber as our whole foods. And we want to limit or eliminate those foods as much as we can. Because like we mentioned before, we want the fiber and we want the high protein foods so that those foods can keep us fuller longer. So get rid of the refined sugars, the refined carbs, and keep all the complex carbohydrates. So like your brown rice and, like Mama mentioned, your quinoa, your vegetables have a lot of fiber in them, right? Your beans,
yes.
Those have fiber and protein. So those are the things that we wanna focus on when we're thinking about, how am I gonna eat to ensure that, I'm satisfied and full for a longer period of time.
Right. And while you're talking about the eating, someone who is struggling with their weight could also consider using a smaller plate, right?
Yes.
You're eating from a smaller plate and you put all your food on the plate and you don't go back for seconds, right? So you eat what's on your plate and you end with your handful of nuts, and that's it. And one thing we need to remember too is that sometimes when we feel hungry, we're not hungry. We are thirsty. So if you've eaten just 2 hours ago and you feel hungry, go drink some water, and you realize that the hunger pain is gone.
Now that's if you've eaten a balanced meal. If you haven't eaten a balanced meal, then of course you're gonna be hungry in 2 hours. But we know that we want the stomach to have time to rest and digest that food before you introduce new food into the stomach again.
Okay. Janice, you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Can I? what I forgot to say, losing the weight is not easy. To
Mm-hmm.
those that really want is there. Like me, it wasn't easy to eat 2 meals a day. I would my in the middle of the night. The first time I ate the 2 meals, my tummy was grumbling in the middle of the night, and I'm saying, okay, Diane, you cannot get up and eat. Go, you cannot eat. You have to really, really work hard
Mm-hmm.
on yourself
Yes.
Yes.
for you
Yes.
not to go back,
Yes.
because when you start, it
Mm-hmm.
is the hardest thing to
Mm-hmm.
forget. To make you have to tell yourself, you have to forget where you came from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop eating. You tell yourself you want to lose the weight and you want to stop eating what you were eating
Yes.
before.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
the hardest thing to lose the weight, to
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
back, to forget where you came from and what you used to eat, because the taste in the mouth is still there.
Yes.
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 But
Yes.
you really, really have to work hard
Mm-hmm.
to
Thank
Thank
you
to
for
to
you.
tell
adding that.
yourself to
Yeah.
lose it.
Thank you. That's very, very important. That's
Mm-hmm.
very important because our taste buds. Not only that, just as how we've been encouraging persons to get on a schedule,
Yeah.
and then your mind, it's in your mind that
Mm-hmm.
every now and again you can reach for this to eat
Yeah.
or reach for that to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's already embedded in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, as she said, the taste buds.
Yeah.
You like this particular thing. It's not good for you, but you
Mm-hmm.
like it, the
Mm-hmm.
fast food or the junk food. So yes.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
another thing is to help yourself, don't buy those things anymore or remove them from your home, because the temptation is strong. Because
Mhm.
if that's a habit that you've been doing for a long time,
You're
it's
gonna
going
go
to take
back.
a while for you to break that habit.
Yeah.
And like Janice said, it's all in the mind, and you have to tell yourself, you know, I want to lose the weight, so I have to put the work in to lose the weight, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And as we're sharing, we don't want to make it seem like it's easy. And I'm so happy that
Yeah.
Janice came
You
in and she
mentioned
said
that.
that, because it is not easy to change anything. It's not easy to change how you eat. It's not easy to
Develop an exercise routine if you're never used to doing it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or finding the right exercise routine, because you can get
That too.
you can get what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
I
you'll
know.
try something and then you don't like it and then you just give up,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you have to determine in your mind, and not just for weight loss, like in
For
general,
anything.
everyone should be
Yes.
exercising, right? And
Yes.
so try to find, the best exercise routine that works for you and that works for your schedule. It's better to
Yeah.
exercise than not at
Not
all.
to
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, and another thing as you think about the weight loss is food preparation. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to ensure that you have food in your refrigerator or ingredients in your cupboard that you can reach for quickly,
Yeah.
right? So if you're gonna make burgers for dinner today, um, double the recipe or triple the recipe so that you'll
Mm-hmm.
always have some in the freezer
Yeah.
and you can always reach for those. If you're doing waffles or you're doing pancakes,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Double or triple the recipe and put some away in the freezer. That way you will always have something
Mm-hmm.
that you can reach for. When you're cooking your beans, I think we had mentioned this in the second health
Video.
talk,
Yeah.
that you cook your beans, cook the entire bag of
Mm-hmm.
beans and put in
And
the
freeze it.
freezer so
Yeah.
you'll always have it.
Mm-hmm. And we already mentioned exercise. We all know
Mm-hmm.
exercise is very important. And, even when you don't feel like doing anything, just walking, just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be anything intense when you're just getting started. And again, it all starts in your mind. You have to tell
Mm-hmm.
yourself, I need to get up. I need to move today. And if all you can do is 5 minutes,
Do
do
it.
the five
Yes.
minutes. And then maybe tomorrow you do 6 minutes.
Yep.
And then the next day, 7 minutes. And if you end up doing 6 minutes the next day, do not give up. Just keep pushing forward, because this is about your health, which is the most important thing that we have, right? And we want to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure that we have healthy bodies.
And it's never too late to
Mm.
start exercising.
Exactly.
Never
Never
too
too late.
No.
So another thing is sleep. Sleep
Mhm.
is so important. You know, if you don't sleep, you're more prone to gain weight. And actually, when you have low melatonin, so melatonin is what's produced, the hormone that's produced when you go to, that makes you want to sleep. If you have low melatonin, you have an increased risk of diabetes and insulin resistance, right? And those are associated with obesity. And when you don't sleep, it actually affects your mind and how you think, and it prevents you from making healthy food choices.
Exactly.
So instead of reaching for something healthy, you reach for the unhealthy foods,
Yes.
right? And so it'll definitely help if you don't have that unhealthy food around, right? So if you're not getting enough energy or restorative energy when you sleep, you're going to turn to food to try and get that energy.
Right.
And, you know, we don't want to have that kind of relationship with food.
No.
We want to think of food as fuel. We want to think of food as our medicine.
Yeah.
Right? To bring about healing and restoration.
And something you enjoy,
yes,
you know, and
yes.
we had mentioned before too, when you're eating, chew slowly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have your mind in a no stress going on at the same time while you're
Yes.
eating, so
Mm-hmm.
that you're thankful as you eat, you
Mm-hmm.
know. There's always something to be thankful for, that I can
Yes.
chew,
Mm-hmm.
that I have teeth, you
Yes.
know, that I'm not being fed by a tube. Just
Mhm.
being thankful, as opposed to being in a rush, or you know, that
Mhm.
kind of thing, where
Yeah, that
your food,
is.
you're getting the benefit from your
Mhm.
food. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And we sort of touched on this before, but you know, the unhealthy relationship that people might have with food, or being an emotional eater, or eating when you know you're feeling anxious or depressed. And sometimes, you know, people might need counseling before they can even make any of these changes.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to figure out what do you need first. You know, I know we mentioned a lot of things this evening, you know, changing your diet, you know, eating from a smaller plate, exercising, you know, getting enough sleep. And that can be overwhelming for
Yes.
some people. But if you just stop and think, okay, what do I need to do first? You know, and for you, it might be, you know what, I need to get some counseling to deal with, you know, this anxiety that I'm feeling, or these emotions that I have associated with food, or this emotional trauma that causes me to eat or drives me to food.
Yes.
So find out, you know, what do I need to target first, right? And just make the first step. And I think once you know we can make the first step, then that will continue to give us the impetus to go forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, does anyone have any questions that they want to just type in the chat, or anything they'd like to share with anyone else on the?
Or if you can, like there are persons on the phone, you can unmute and okay, Martha, you can unmute, Martha.
Yeah, I wanted to say that before, you know. However, when we're talking about overweight in the medical field, they also talk about, you know, some people carry their fat on the outside and some people carry it on the inside and suffer with a lot of fat, like fatty liver and fat on the inside that you can't see on the outside. So sometimes it's important for people to go to the doctor and have certain tests done to discover that they carry the fat on the inside. And I wanted to mention that with obese people, you may see some people look skinny and shape and nice, but they're loaded with fat on the inside and they can be sick also. So I wanted to throw that in.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We always encourage, you know, people, please, you know, if you have any issues, go see your doctor.
Yes.
You know, don't self-treat, don't self-diagnose, you know, get yourself checked out.
Ascertain the cause.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
there are many persons who want to do it the natural way,
Mhm.
right? And that is fine because that's their choice.
Mhm.
But one of the first things that they need to do, the first thing is to ascertain the cause. And that's why we have doctors,
Mhm.
that they will help us to ascertain the cause of our problem.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a question in the chat. You mentioned eating beans, but what if beans make you bloated?
Okay, that's a very good question because a lot of people have that challenge with beans.
Mhm.
And I'll say something on that. I remember years ago, I grew up with my grandmother, and she died many years ago. But I remember her saying to me, "When you're cooking the beans, put a piece of ginger in it."
Yeah.
But now I have come to the realization as to exactly why that is happening. Do you wanna tell us?
Well, beans have well, there are a couple ways you can prepare your beans, right? So you can soak your beans overnight. Now, when you soak the beans overnight, the next day you want to throw off the water and add new water to it because you don't want to cook with the water that has pulled out all the chemicals and all the stuff that makes you bloated. You don't want to cook with that water because then when you eat the beans, you'll be bloated. So for me, I like when my beans are soaked like 2 to 3 days. I know some people, they only do it for a day.
And some none at all.
And some none at all. And then you can also slow cook the beans, right?
Yes. So that's where planning comes in,
Yeah.
right? And that is why we encourage to, if you have the beans cooked and put away, then you can always take it out. But as Donisha mentioned, in her case, she's challenged by beans if it's not soaked.
Yeah.
So we would soak the beans, throw off the water, put fresh water on it, soak them again, throw off that water, cook it with fresh water.
Yes.
And one thing about us is that we like to have like our red beans, we like to have the rice and peas red
I don't
or
like it
dark,
red.
and that one, according to one doctor, he said that's dirty water, so we should throw it away. And the reason is in the beans we have what's called phytic acid. Now the phytic acid is not good for us in large quantities. We can our bodies can accept a small amount, which we would get like from our nuts, because our nuts also have phytic acid. So if you're eating a lot of nuts, if you're sitting over a bag of nuts, that's not good, and you are getting too much phytic acid in your body. So you soak the beans and then you cook them, or if you cannot soak them, then you have to put them in a slow cooker and let them cook for 3 to 4 hours or more, because like chickpeas will take in a slow cooker, it could take even 4 or 5 hours to cook. But the longer the grain cooks, then we will get rid of the phytic acid, and you should not have problems eating your beans that when you eat them that way.
There's another question from Sophia. You talked about drinking water to assist in losing weight. Do you believe we can overdrink? Yes. You can overdo anything.
You can overdrink on your water, and you can burden your kidneys. So you want to drink your water until your urine is
pale yellow. Yeah.
And once your urine is pale yellow, then you're good.
Yeah. Any other questions for us?
And maybe someone on the phone. You can unmute and ask your question. Okay.
What if your day demands you eat?
So, hi, Sister and Tanisha.
Hi.
So it's not a
It's not what?
glasses of water anymore. It's just until your urine is pale yellow.
Well, if say for example I'm working with someone and I'm doing a consultation for a person, then I will do the calculation based on the person's BMI, as to how many glasses of water they will drink per day. But picture somebody, for example, who requires, based on their weight, this person
Please mute your microphones, please. Thank you.
this person requires 14 glasses of water per day, and they're only accustomed to drinking 1 glass, right? Then it's a big jump for them to move from 1 to 14. So it's easier to encourage them in the beginning to drink until your urine is pale yellow. But yes, it's not 8 glasses, because my 8 glasses, my weight would mean that I could require less than 8 glasses, and somebody else's weight would require more than 8 glasses. All right. Okay. Thanks for that question, Jackie. One last question. What if your day demands you to eat in a rush? In one of our previous videos, we had looked at that. If you have to eat in a rush, it's better that you don't eat, because you're doing more damage to your body than good, and you're not getting the nutrients that you need from the food. It doesn't matter how good the food is, it's not going to benefit you. So if we are going to be in a rush, then it's best that we drink something. If you're going to be rushing, then drink something, and when you can comfortably sit to a meal, then you can eat that meal. And believe me, over time, you are going to be in problems if you're doing that. And years ago, I would eat my breakfast at my desk while I'm working, and I would have my dinner at my desk while I'm working. And that was not good. And I know it wasn't good. And I couldn't wait for the day when I didn't have to do that anymore. So it's really not good.
The other thing I will say is, you also have to look at your schedule, and, you can work with someone to figure out, okay, maybe I can change the time I eat breakfast, or maybe I can eat dinner a bit earlier. So we're just giving a general answer, but you could always send us a private message, or we could work with you to help you figure out the best times to eat, or, things that you can eat in a rush. Because I don't think we've said it before. We haven't said it yet today, but the things that we're mentioning, they need to be individualized, right? My life is different from your life. And we need to work with you to ensure that whatever we're suggesting to you is best for you and for your lifestyle.
Right. Okay, so Maxine had put a good way to decide is to multiply your weight in kilogram by 25. And for minimum requirement, that total divide by 0.85. I think that's I've never used that way, but the one I use is to divide your weight by 2 and then divide that by 8, and then you'll get the number of glasses that you're supposed to drink per day. So that's another way.
Okay, there's a question here from Christine. When I add the juice of a lemon to my morning water, I end up getting a rash around my mouth. Is there something else I can use instead of lemon juice? Thanks. Oh, that was something. No, the rash is around your mouth. So have you tried using a straw? Because I don't know if the lemon juice is touching the outside of your mouth, then you could try a straw. But if you're still affected when you use a straw, then I would consider, because let's think, what is the lemon juice doing? When you take the lemon juice in the morning, it's kind of like a mini detox, because the lemon stimulates your liver, right, to get it going. It releases bile. And when you drink it with the warm water, that opens up your intestines, and that allows you to have a bowel movement. So if you're not able to have the lemon juice at all, I would suggest eating more bitter vegetables, like dandelion, having burdock. You could have burdock tea instead, or dandelion root tea. And those herbs are also stimulating for the liver. So if you're not able to have lemon juice, you can consider those herbal teas as well.
But she could still have the warm water.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, you
without
can
the
still
lemon
have the
juice.
warm water without the lemon
Mhm.
juice. We are running out of time.
Mhm.
So do you have?
Yes, I hope I didn't see any other hand. I have a question.
And what's the question for?
The question is if anyone wants a 15-minute free consultation with either of us, then they can answer the question.
And I don't know if we clarified, but the 15 minutes is to see, how we can work together, right? To help you
Yeah.
with a longer consultation. So it's just
Right.
to see if we can work together. And then if you believe that we're a good fit for you, then we can set up something that will be longer than the 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we mentioned some symptoms of obesity. Name 2 of them. And do you have another question? If not,
No.
then we'll take 2
Yeah.
persons. Do you remember the symptoms of obesity that we mentioned?
Okay. You need to P Terrier. Okay. P Terrier said insulin resistant and high blood pressure.
Okay, and Sophia said tiredness and short breaths. Okay, snoring. Oh, you guys were listening. Okay, so we have Christine K, Maxine, and Pat. All right. So thank you so much for joining us
Do you have that
this
contact?
evening. I do have, yes, Christine. Yes, I do have the contacts for those persons. Again, we will put our
I'll
email
put
address in the
chat.
so that you can contact us. And we just want to remind you that you can always contact us if you have any medical or health condition, and you can also tell your friends, invite your friends to join us during on Thursdays as well, or also ask them to watch the videos on YouTube. And for those who are on Facebook, you can search both Facebook and YouTube DRD Natural Health.
I see here that people are giving away their consultations. Please email us so we can have the information of the person you want to give it to.
Okay.
Right? So just send us an email of your name and who you'd like to give the consultation to, and their contact information as well.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Donisha and Rosetta, and we are at DRD Natural Health, reminding you to start your journey towards better health today.
Yes.
And we will see you
Next
next week. And we will